Greatest Cards of All Time podcast number 56, Wilbur Wood. Wilbur Forrester Wood Jr.
Forrester, actually did not know that.
That's why you come here. That's why you come here. We bring the information. 17 years in the bigs for Wilbur Wood. Knuckleball specialist, I might say, if I just had to throw a blanket term out there right away in the podcast. That.
Best left-handed knuckleball pitcher ever.
Maybe the best left-handed knuckleball pitcher ever.
There you go.
Played with the Red Sox from 61 to 64. Short stint there. Pirates, 64 to 65. Then jumped in with the White Sox in 67 all the way to 1978. So long-term White Sox there.
First 5-6 years in MLB did not go all that great. I'm sure you noticed that.
It was slow.
It was slow.
But he was in a dugout, you know. He was putting in his service time, I guess, at the beginning of his career there, but not getting much playing time.
No, he actually did not pitch more than 65 innings in a season until 1967. And then from 1971 to 1975, the guy averaged 336 innings pitched over that time period. So he really ramped up his pitching. They used him much more often. And guess what? I mean, basically that was because he converted to a knuckleball pitcher. He realized once he got traded to the White Sox, he was going to need to make a change in order to get any type of playing time.
It's an age-old tale. I've heard it before.
He first got there, the manager basically told him, look, you're just going to be the mop-up man. We're going to have you pitch innings when it pretty much doesn't matter. So that's when, yeah, right. Thanks, manager.
When the game doesn't matter, that's when you can get in there, Wilbur.
Thanks, Coach. So actually, shortly after going to the White Sox, he talked to Hoyt and asked Hoyt Wilhelm, what do I need to do in order to pitch knuckleballs? And
that's a good guy to ask.
For sure, Hall of Famer, obviously. And he gave him some tips, but the one thing that kind of stuck out to me as far as what Hoyt told him was basically it's got to be a pitch that you throw all the time. If you're actually going to
That's how Hoyt resurrected his late career. It's insane. He found longevity in his old age because of the knuckleball.
Right. So, big change. Let's just go over first, look at his career. His career WAR was 50.0. That's a very respectable WAR. Wins loss 164, 156.
That's what I have too. 164, 156.
Not bad. I think his whip of 1.232, very, very solid. An ERA of 3.24. And some other stats that kind of jumped out. That time in the early 70s with the White Sox was by far his most productive time period.
Yeah.
He actually was in the WAR for American League pitchers. He was in the top the top 10 5 times. So 1968, he was 7th. 1971, he was first overall with an 11.7 WAR. Very good. 1972, he was second with a 10.7 WAR. And in 73, he was 5th. And in 74, he was 9th. And I'd say his best year was probably that 1971 where he had the 11.7 WAR. His ERA was 1.91 and his whip was 1. So, that year, 1971, was probably his best year. And just a couple things. I know you pointed out the 20 wins. The one thing that I thought was interesting, and this kind of comes down to how many games he pitched. He was the first pitcher since Walter Johnson in 1916 to have 20 wins or more and 20 losses or more.
Good company.
Yeah.
Good company to be in
and
there.
He pitched a lot, obviously. Walter Johnson pitched a lot. So in 1973, Wilbur had 24 wins and 20 losses.
How about the 1,411 strikeouts for old Wilbur?
Not bad. Yeah, I have that written down
solid.
too. That's a pretty solid number for strikeouts. Unfortunately, everything was turned around when he was with the White Sox, and then unfortunately He had, so 1975, he has 43 starts. 1976, he only makes 7 starts, and that's because he takes a line drive off the kneecap early in 1976.
Ooh.
And really was never the same person. I think maybe he played 1 season after that and then ended up retiring. So he even made a comment on it that, it seemed like he was gun shy after taking that one off the kneecap. And really, yeah.
Understandable, I think. Wilbur Wood, I will say this about old Wilbur Wood. He was a fastball curveball before he developed that knuckleball. So those were the pitches that he was relying on, going out there and hucking when he did get playing time.
What did he say? I think this might have been a quote from him. His fastball was a couple yards too short or something like that, where it just,
I got to make a change here.
Yeah. When you're playing the best of the best, sometimes, you have to do something they're just not used to seeing. And, the knuckleball is unpredictable for the pitcher and for the hitter. But the one thing that Wilbur Wood really did well was throw knuckleballs for strikes.
Get Hoyt Wilhelm in here and teach this man a knuckleball.
Well, let's take a look at his rookie card, the 1964 Topps.
Beautiful.
I have a graded one that's 2, which you might look and go, hey, that seems a little harsh.
It is a little harsh, I think.
But here's why, and this is something I'm not the first one, obviously, to notice this in 1964. But anytime you're looking at a 64 Topps, if you look on the right side of the card, the lower right side card, I don't know if you'll be able to catch it when you look at the front of the graded card, but when I catch it in the light, you can really see indentations and just kind of jacked up. And if you flip over the card and look at the back, they're encouraging you to rub a nickel on that in order to see.
Ooh,
right.
Devastating.
So the trivia question, you want to know the answer, here, smash your card, and we'll give you the answer. And we have a couple of raw ones here, and you'll notice they don't have that same damage on that right side of the card. And I don't know how often this occurs, but actually on the 2 raw that I have, neither of them actually have the answer visible. So they did not, scratch up the card. So,
thankfully, but they did on the graded slabbed one.
Yeah, somebody decided to throw. Hey, let's send this.
To know.
Here, it's not going to come out well. Okay, I'll tell you that. So, on the raw cards, they both look all right. One is a little discolored. One, the white is a much nicer white, and then the other one is just basically like an off-white. I had a hard time finding these cards in decent shape.
Vintage is always more sensitive, I was going to say. Vintage is always more sensitive, and especially in a case like these are cards that are getting old. I'm feeling old.
Right. And you'll notice here, a native of Boston, it is kind of cool. He started out his career. He was born in Cambridge, and he ends up at least starting out his career with the White Sox. I'm sure he's probably a little disappointed with how he played there, but he was able to turn his career around. 3-time All-Star, probably the best left-handed knuckleball pitcher ever in baseball. It's a dying thing. You don't see knuckleball pitchers anymore. We're in 2023, and I don't believe MLB has a single knuckleball pitcher.
Check out the entire library from the Greatest Cards of All Time podcast by clicking on the link in the description below.